What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow. Today, I have a gear review on the Bayoneta PULHH training gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have one of the most requested pairs of gloves on the channel over the last year, and one of the most demanded reviews, period, over the last year. These are the Bayoneta PULHH training gloves. And before I get into the review itself, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being patient with me with getting this review out. I was supposed to do it a little while ago, but if you've been watching some of my social media stuff, or if you saw my last video, which was a life and channel update, you know I've been dealing with a bit of a knee injury lately. Good thing is I got all the recordings done before my knee injury happened. As far as like the bag work and everything else goes, I am very well versed with these gloves. I know it was demanded for a very long time, basically, you know, please do the review of these gloves, and it's been a little bit, but I'm very excited to finally sit in front of the camera. It's just been a crazy last couple months. Summertime is usually nutty for me for whatever reason, because I don't take on anything more than I usually did during the rest of the year. But I'm just excited to sit in front of the camera and finally give you this review. Like I said, these are the Bayoneta PULHH training gloves, and these are sold by the Boxing Collector. And if you're not aware of the Boxing Collector, he's a cool guy. His name is Edgar, and he lives in Mexico. He has his own gym down there, and he created this shop. And basically the idea was, guys, he wanted people to have Mexican-made, authentic Mexican-made gear outside of like Clutch Reyes and a couple other brands that sell worldwide. And he wanted to take them from small Mexican workshops and send them out so people could really appreciate true Mexican craftsmanship. So now you have gloves on the market like No Boxing, No Life, which is Canelo's brand that was really only based in Mexico, and it was a hard brand to get a hold of. A little less hard than some other brands, but things like Casanova, you know, Gill was a brand that was kind of hard to get a hold of in bulk, and then New Sporting, who used to make Grants, you know, and things like that, actually are all sold through them, and a lot of other really cool brands out there, like Angelis and all those other brands that maybe you haven't heard of. But it's cool, basically, because a lot of these Mexican factories are very small, usually family-owned businesses that have been around for a while that don't have the resources, time, or money, or basically product, because a lot of them are not really made in bulk, like say a Clutch Reyes or things like that that have a big factory. They're usually made in batches, from what I'm to understand, of 50 or less a lot of the times. And so when they ship them out, it's basically, you know, what we would call boutique brands in some ways, which is why sometimes they can be a little bit more expensive. But what I found unique is that you're actually able to get like gloves that are basically grants in some way that are more than half the price, simply because the money just doesn't carry as much, you know, and you're not paying for that big logo. So I thought that's pretty cool that Edgar's doing that, and I've been able myself to experience real authentic made Mexican stuff. And then on top of it, he made these, the Bayoneta gloves, and there are a couple different models. Like I said, these are the PULHH training gloves, which means polyurethane layers plus horsehair. So there is horsehair in this glove, and then on top of it, there's also a latex version, there's a premium foam version. So you have about 3 different pairs of Bayoneta gloves out there, and they don't come in really large quantities, although they are starting to pump out more because they're in very high demand. People have loved these gloves. I love the reviews done by C-Squared and Fit the Box on these gloves. They really enjoy these gloves as well, and I'm no exception. I've really come to love these gloves too. I wish I got them a lot sooner, but I'm happy that I got them now. These are Edgar's own brand name, basically. He wanted a glove that would be good for sparring, bag work, everything like that. That would work for a Mexican style fighter, for a defensive style fighter, whatever it might be. And that's where Bayoneta came from. And so far, it's taken the world by storm. I'm to understand, and I could be incorrect, so please comment below if you know, that New Sporting, the same people that made Grant at one point, actually are the producers of this glove. They have actually made this glove in production, but it is much different than a New Sporting in a lot of ways. I personally like it a little bit more than New Sporting, but I definitely see some similarities. But honestly, with a lot of different boxing gloves from Mexico that I've now been able to try, I see a lot of similarities between brands such as like Reyes, Grant. I've seen a lot of different brands that really try and capture those type of qualities. But these are definitely a unique glove on their own. Now, when we go into the model that I have here, I got them in gold, black, and silver, and there's some white to it as well on the piping, as you can see here. I got them in lace-up and in 16 ounces. You can get them in different types of closures and different sizes. I've seen them go from 10 ounces all the way up to 18 ounces. I've seen a few in Velcro. I've seen a lot more in lace-up. But once again, when you have what we call a boutique brand, because they're not made in large bulk like some other brands, basically, they, from what I did when I bought these a number of months ago, is I just saw the model that I liked that was available for sale. You can also ask for custom orders, but they do cost a lot more from what I'm to understand. But at the end of the day, these colorways come out and I ordered it that way. The only colorway that I really liked that really stood out to me was the black, gold, and silver, because I love that colorway on anything. And they were in lace-up, so I had to get them. I wish they were in Velcro, because as an MMA guy, I do prefer Velcro. It's just easier for me. But at the end of the day, that's how I got them. So you basically have to go on the website and see what they have available. Although, like I said, they are starting to churn out the gloves a lot more because of more demand, which I think is cool. So that means that they're pretty successful, and I can see why. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to see what they have. Otherwise, you'd have to order custom. But my model, again, was black, gold, and silver. And I got them in lace-up 16 ounces, which fit my hand just fine, and there's plenty of padding for that. Although I do understand really the only difference in ounces, like going down from 14 to 12 and stuff like that, is that it's not that the padding reduces, it's more the size of the glove reduces in general. So they do it that way. They don't just take padding away from it. It's just the size of the glove changes just a little bit, which is pretty cool. Now, when we go into the look of the glove, like I said, it is a really unique colorway. I like how it looks. It's like a really deep bar gold, which is what I like about the color. It's very, very deep gold. It's very nice to look at, and you have that all the way on the back of the punch surface until you get to the bottom of the wrist cuff, which you can see the welted seam there, which has a nice white tint to it. And then when we come to the tips of the fingers, you also have that nice gold, and it shines really well off the light that I have here. You have a black thumb on both sides, which looks really nice, and again, a welted seam that gives it that nice white colorway in the center. When we get to the palm, you can see that we have silver, and I want to say the laces, or the stitching is all whitish silver as well. I may be colorblind a little bit. They look more silverish white to me. I think they're more on the white side than silver, but you can definitely see that there. And the palm is all that really nice, like rich silver color. You got that in the grip bar, and then you can see all the double line stitching going throughout here. You have white piping for the palm and black laces that go through the eyelids there. And then going back to the thumb again, you can see that we actually have a silver thumb attachment. So that's a really cool attention to detail. You got like the tricolor right there. You got gold, silver, black, although it's a very small sliver of silver. When we come down again to the bottom of the wrist cuff, you can see that we have more piping that's white. If I open the glove up a bit, you can see that the interior lining is this nice, rich, royal blue color. And it is nice and reflective as well. I really love how that looks. When we come to the thumb here as well, the thumb piping that you see here is gold. We turn the glove around. It says Bayoneta, hecho in Mexico. And it has the Mexico flag there with the green, white, and red. Bayoneta right there. And then also a tag that says 16 ounces at the bottom there. Now, the one thing that it did have, if you look up the Bayoneta like logo, I'll show you the B right here, how it has like a knife in the center, which Bayoneta, I believe, is a type of blade. I should have done more research into that. My apologies. But it did have that logo here on both of the gloves. But I noticed that theme when it comes to a lot of Mexican-made gloves is that you need to kind of like iron some things back on, but they fell off immediately within my first use, to be honest. So was I upset by that? No, because it happens a lot with Mexican-made gloves that I've tried. The logos tend to be fading off a lot, and even on Cleto Reyes gloves, which is crazy because some of my Reyes gloves, like the ones I've had for years here that you can see, still have the full logo with some fading, and I've had those gloves for a long time, going on 6-7 years or more now. I really got to do the math on those. I don't use them that much anymore. But, you know, even newer logos on Reyes gloves just tend to fade off, and I don't know why, so maybe they need to work on that. But the glove looks very sharp. I like the way it looks. I like the colorway here, and there's a lot of really cool colorways that you can get online as well. And I invite you to go look on their Instagram too, because they have some really cool custom colors. And sometimes if the custom order doesn't go through, you can buy it on their website as well. Now, when we come to the build of the glove, let's talk about the outer shell first. The outer shell is made out of very nice, high quality cowhide leather. And for me, the best smelling leather is Mexican leather, although I will say there are some other leather, like Thai leather smells really nice. You can definitely tell that it's Mexican leather based off the thickness and the tanning process of it. I love leather as a whole. It definitely has different grades and grains. And for me, this is a very high quality full grain, which is basically they take the hide. Top grain is usually they shave off all imperfections, but sometimes the hide is tanned so well with full grain that there are no imperfections, and they just shave it to where it's smooth. So there's still those nice, what you call imperfections or grain marks that go all the way throughout the glove, and you can see the natural creasing of the leather as well, which looks really nice all the way throughout the glove. And the metallic paint as well on the outside does not smell. It smells of leather, which is awesome. So it's actually not, because when you get colors like gold, silver, those rich metals, usually you get that really strong chemical scent in your nose. I do not have that here. It smells of a really nice leather handbag or a nice brand new leather wallet, leather shoes. It smells just like that. And it's a very thick hide that you have going over here. Now, sometimes there are brands that I've talked to, I won't say which because I don't want to give their secrets away, where they actually pad the lining itself. But in this case, the lining is so thick. The leather itself is so thick that it makes a nice soft cushion. And you see how much I got off there. I mean, that's a solid inch of just leather alone. And usually what I tell people is you want thicker hides because it means that there's going to be more of a wall in between the sweat and the glove. There's going to be more of a wall between damaging the glove, and it's also going to add another tiny layer of protection for your knuckles. And it's kind of like, not to get too far into it, but way back in the day, people would use caribou hide, and people still do, to keep themselves warm because of how thick and pillowy the membrane and stuff of the actual hide is. And that's how this feels. It doesn't feel like there's another form of padding in there. It just feels like a raw hide, which is cool because I've handled raw hide before just to see how it feels. And that's how it feels. So it's a very thick hide that you have on the outside, and that's everywhere from the thumb to the thumb attachment to the palm. That is all that nice full grain cowhide leather that you have on the outside here. Now, when we come to the padding of the glove, it's one solid mold that you see here of multi-layered foam and horsehair. So the PUL stands for polyurethane. And basically, you have a couple different things going on. You have latex, some polyurethane foam, and horsehair. I'm to understand from reading online, and that's the first model I got, is that they took some of the extra polyurethane foam why am I blanking on that type of foam? EVA, yeah, they took some of the EVA, I'm sorry about that, but the PU EVA foam out, and they put more horsehair in the glove, is what I was told. Some have disputed this. I've seen some like Reddit forums and stuff like that. Some have disputed that they put more horsehair in it. A lot of people think in general that it's kind of like one of those gloves that just put a tiny little bit of horsehair over the knuckle so you get a good feeling for it. I don't think that's what's happening here. I definitely think there is a solid layer of horsehair in the glove. You can feel it and even hear it. You can hear crinkling, and there's some other gloves out there that use horsehair. And if you've ever seen a pair of like solid fight gloves that use horsehair, when you feel them, your hand can go right through it and you can literally hear the horsehair crinkle and move around. It's called quilted horsehair nowadays. They put it on the inside and it layers so you can't move it around. That's what you have here is quilted horsehair that's actually attached on the inside. But I will say there, for me, is much more latex, and you can tell just based on the snapback of the glove like that. Latex is, derives from rubber, actually, from a rubber tree, and that's basically what you have going on here. It's very bouncy, and a lot of Mexican-made gloves use that. You can definitely feel the horsehair, but it definitely, for me, is a little bit more latex in that PUL foam, the polyurethane layers that you got going on, compared to the horsehair. But I do feel the horsehair when I make contact, and I will say that the overall protection of the padding is actually very well done. It doesn't just sink through like a lot of other latex gloves and damage your knuckles. I actually feel it kind of cradle my knuckles because of the shape of the glove. it's flat like a lot of puncher's gloves will be. You want the glove to be flat so your knuckles go through. But in this case, it's flat, but has a little tiny bit of rounding towards the top. And because of the padding layered, the way that the padding is layered rather, it actually cradles around when you punch. So when you punch, it doesn't actually like just crease in the center. It creases around the whole thing, basically hugging your hand at the same time. And it feels good when you punch. It's a very nice protective puncher's glove. I wouldn't say it's great if you still have brittle hands. That's when you still want to look into something more like, I'd say, you know, Winnings and stuff like that, or Winning-esque gloves, especially if you have really delicate hands. But still, for me, this was a really nice surprise. So the padding on the back is all made out of that horsehair PUL layer. I'd say more of the horsehair is up towards the knuckles. I don't think you really need it in the back of the wrist, though I can feel it a little bit. The thumb is very protective as well, which I like about it. It has more of that polyurethane layer because I really don't think you need horsehair inside of a thumb, to be honest. But it's a really thick thumb. It's a very wide thumb, which I love. A lot of Mexican gloves are a wide thumb like this. It allows you to make a nice bigger fist, natural fist as well, and it also guides your thumb into a proper fist position. Although some people have complained in the past that Mexican thumbs are so wide and so big that their thumbs poke through and smash. I've not had that problem here. When I close my fist, my thumb tucks right behind this part of the finger compartment, and it keeps my thumb protected, which is good. When we go to the back of the wrist here, you can see that we have lace tracks, and they're very, very padded. And these use just an open cell foam, which means that it breathes very easily. This is the type of stuff that you get in like your backpacks or some things like that. You know, and a lot of other gloves use this. Actually, this feels very similar to Grant as far as their wrist track, lace track, actually, excuse me, just had a blank, but that's basically what you got going on here on the back. Very protective wrist. Where the wrist support actually meets with the laces is right on the track. Sometimes there's a technique called pinching where you come up and you pinch around that part because that's where your wrist actually is. When I put the glove on in a second, you'll see that it actually cuts off there, which is good. When we turn it around, again, you have a very I wouldn't say soft, but it was like a medium soft grip bar, and it's very easy to make a tight fist and open and close. It's a very flexible glove. The eyelids are very smooth, very easy to pull out. The piping is very solid. Again, you have double line stitching going all the way throughout the palm of the glove, and you have a lot more of that open cell foam, very soft padded foam. Especially when you're sparring, it's good to take it easy on your forearms, especially I think in like kicking and stuff. It actually takes a little bit of the damage off. There is no padding in the palm area, but a lot in like up here, the upper palm where your fingers are, but the lower palm and forearm is very good. Like I said, the interior lining is a nice bright blue, and it's more of a silky material. It feels like a nice satin material, I'd say. It's very rich, it's very soft, and it feels cool to the touch. And putting your hand on the inside of the glove feels such a natural fit when you put it on. That's the one thing I love about this. My fingers in the tip of the fingers doesn't have a lot of those other Mexican made gloves that have like that denim canvas feel to it, which I just think is super uncomfortable and annoying. This has more of a very luxurious interior lining, and it cools off and dries out very easily on the inside, which is nice. There are no breathe holes on the gloves, so if you think that's an issue as far as, you know, letting your hands breathe, I personally think that's just it doesn't matter. Because you're going to be punching, you know, you're gonna be sweating. Your hands are going to sweat. But at the end of the day, the interior lining hasn't really frayed at all. Near my thumb, just a little bit. I think that's just because I grip a lot and I'm constantly opening and closing when it comes to Thai, and especially like MMA sparring, because you can get really great grips with these on the wrist, on the back of the arm, the neck, the head. So I love sparring and MMA and Muay Thai with these. So overall, they feel really good. Like I said, the knuckle padding is surprisingly dense compared to some other puncher style glove. And again, the wrist support is very, very nice because like I said, sometimes with gloves, usually you'll get something called pinching and you have to kind of come up here, but that's actually the top part of my hand, whereas this is my wrist right here. Some gloves don't do that and the wrist really lies here, but this is my knuckle right here, exactly where it's supposed to be, back of my hand, wrist, right there, and it fits really good, and it's such a nice comfortable fit. And on top of it, they are very lace and loop friendly. So there's a lot to be done with these gloves. They are very, very well made. The materials are great, the performance is great, but let's go into the bag work so you can see these gloves in action, and I'll see you back with my final thoughts. Alright, so hitting the bag with Bayoneta PULHH training gloves, first thing you're going to notice, like any other Mexican glove, is the forward punching pressure that you have with these. Although the gloves feel incredibly balanced. You're able to really protect your knuckles with these gloves, unlike some other Mexican-made gloves. You have awesome grips if you're into MMA or Muay Thai, and on top of it, just the awesome feedback that you get with these gloves. I find, compared to a lot of other Mexican gloves out there, they protect your knuckles really well. They're very light instead of being so very top-heavy, but you still have that nice forward punching style, which I absolutely love with these gloves. I think you're going to really enjoy hitting the bags with these, with the feedback and everything else. So when you get to the look of the glove, you can see that nice solid bar gold really coming right out at you. You can see the nice boxing collector lace and loops that they got going on too. You can see all the nice colors going on here. And a lot of people are really going to look at these gloves and think, you know, they're classy looking, yet basic at the same time. There's no big flashing logos, no big oval logo. It's just the glove, and you got the logo at the bottom of the wrist cuff. They look amazing for me. I love black, gold, and silver. It works perfect. All right, folks, so my final verdict for the Bayoneta PULHH training gloves is that I've absolutely loved using them. One of my favorite Mexican-made gloves that I've tried so far. Are they in my top 5 best of all time? I don't know yet, but they're definitely one of the better gloves that I've used in recent memory, and I've absolutely loved every time I've used these. Are there gloves that I prefer over these? Sure, but do I think that these are a great professionally made, great quality glove? Also, sure, I do think that these are really well made. And I know the video is long. I always give you the timestamps for your own courtesy, but at the same time, I make videos so long like this because they're expensive. It's an investment, and it's your health and safety at the end of the day. Basically, I really want to make sure that you guys have every last detail about these gloves before you go and purchase these. Because like I said, they're not cheap, especially if you go online and look during the review. They go for about $389 plus shipping. You're going to spend a little over $400. Now, for me, I'm glad that there's 4 payment installments through like PayPal and Affirm and all those other things, or you know, however it would work. I do that a lot because that's how I'm able to buy my gloves, because I'm not made of money, you know, and I'm able to sometimes afford it every 2 weeks when it comes to payments like that. But that's what I had to do with these gloves. There are some gloves I can just buy outright, and these are not one of them because they are expensive. It is an investment. So that's the thing that I would say about these gloves here. But with that said, let's go into a lot of things that I like and maybe some things that I dislike about the gloves, or some other gloves out there that are similar, however that might work. But let's go into the things I love. For one, you can tell that they're high quality. That's the one thing about a lot of Mexican-made products that I do enjoy, is that you can always tell that they are made very, very, very well. And in this case, these gloves were made very well. The outer shell is so super smooth. It's so well made, and it is such a great quality leather that I absolutely love about these gloves and a lot of other Mexican-made gloves. The leather is outstanding, and it's very easy to clean leather because of high quality, how high quality it is. I'm sorry I'm having a bad time talking. It's the storm. There's a huge thunderstorm going outside. But that's the thing, is if you have cheap quality leather, it will crinkle easily. It will maintain moisture easily. These gloves do not do that. That's the one thing I will say, is that they're very easy to clean. I've only used leather cleaner and conditioner with these gloves one time before I sat down and made this review, because I always do that. That way they look pristine in front of the camera. Other than that, I've not had to do much other than I spray the inside lining so it doesn't, you know, soak so much moisture and stuff like that. But the interior lining as well does not soak moisture. It's very easy to clean these gloves out, especially if you have something like the glove purifier or a glove dryer. I used to just use a boot warmer, put these on, and call it a day. And that's basically what I still do in a lot of ways with the glove purifier. I just put them on the heat setting and we're good to go. And they're dry within a half hour. They do not soak moisture up at all. So the maintenance on these gloves is awesome because they're very well made. The outer shell is made of very high quality leather, and the interior lining is made of very nice satin type lining, which feels absolutely incredible on your hand. They're comfortable. They're able to move around quite a bit. The eyelids are very easy to unlace right there. But like I said, this is the same feeling that I had when I took them right out of the box when I did my unboxing on these. Same exact feeling. Maybe to open and close my hands very easily. My thumb is in a very nice natural spot. My knuckles feel natural when I punch. And on top of it, even though they're a Mexican style puncher's glove, I feel protected because it really cradles my knuckles with that PUL foam that you have, the polyurethane layers of the latex and some other EVA foams that are meant to cradle your hand a little bit. Like I said, are they going to be as protective as some other gloves out there? No. Like Winning, I'd say a lot of rival gloves do a better job of protecting your knuckles. Onyx, Hayabusa, Hit and Move, I think have much better knuckle padding. But at the end of the day, when you buy Mexican-made gear, you kind of know what you're getting into. So does it have the best protective qualities for everybody? No. Does it have better protective qualities than, say, a glove like Reyes? I do agree it does. I also think that these are much more comfortable than very high-end expensive gloves like Grant, which I always tell you is basically expensive because of the logo on the front and the people that use it, which I still stand by to this day now, trying so many gloves. You can literally get a pair of New Sporting, which is the same people that make these gloves, from what I'm to understand, for like $250 to almost $300, which is still more than half the price of a Grant. I bought my pair of Grants for $600 years ago, and I had to open a credit line for it, for the love of God. So, you know, that's a different thing. Whereas this definitely feels a lot more comfortable, feels more protective, feels more natural, puts my hand in a much more natural fist. So that's why I tell people you don't need those big name expensive gloves, because you have gloves like Bayoneta out there that just do a better job. I think these protect your hand a lot better than Grants and New Sporting in a lot of ways, but at the same time, is it as protective as those other glove brands I named? Not so much, but it does do a good job. There's tons of room on the inside of the hand compartment, especially a guy like me that has pretty big hands, to wrap my hands up pretty big, although I don't often wrap my hands up big because gloves do such a good job of protecting you now, but I will say every time you make contact, you feel it. It feels awesome. Sends Schultz down your body in a good way, just good feedback energy because it bounces so easily. That latex you definitely feel. That horsehair you do feel, and it does give you a little bit of that nice fight glove feel, especially when you kind of want to train in the type of horsehair glove that you might be fighting in, might be the glove to look into. But like I said, the big thing that's going to probably throw a lot of people off, although we know it's very well made, we know that the quality's there, we know that the performance is there, is that price tag of $389 plus shipping and everything like that. For me, as a collector of gloves that has however many behind me now, I've tried a lot of brands, and for me, I've tried virtually every style of glove you can think of, whether it be punchers, a hybrid, pillow, defensive, any type of thing you can think of, and then mixtures of the both. A lot of gloves copy and paste things. A lot of gloves try and copy other people in general, and for me, I just don't think that's what they're trying to do here. It definitely is its own unique glove, but also, would you rather get, say, a Hayabusa T3 for $150, a pair of Clutch Reyes for $200? Would you rather try and shoot for Winning, which is around the same price as these nowadays? Would you rather shoot for rival gloves? Would you rather shoot for anything like that? That will be significantly less expensive than these. That is the question that you need to ask yourself when you go buy these gloves. Are you willing to spend $400 on a pair of gloves? My answer is yes, because I love collecting gloves, and I understand the quality that comes with a pair of gloves like that. At the same time, I've been ripped by gloves that are supposed to be just the best thing ever made, like Grant's. I don't like them compared to some other gloves that I have for $120, you know, stuff like that. For me, I think something like the Top Boxers, Win Ones, or the Top Boxer Aliens, I'd rather get over a pair of Grant's because I think they're very well made and they do a better job for me personally. Grant's, really, that price tag ruined the glove for me. I'm like, wow, there's other gloves out there that are just better. You know, for me, definitely one of my favorite Mexican gloves I've tried. I tie these with my Salvador gloves. They're definitely two unique different gloves. Salvador is much more of a very soft, supple type feel of a glove, which is why I love those. These are a little bit more firm. They're a little bit more on the dense side, and they cost a little bit more. I think Salvador's will go for about $270, whereas these will go for about $370. So that's basically what you got to look into. You also got to look into the fact, like, Salvador too is another brand. They're not in large quantities, okay? They're not as available as a lot of other gloves out there. Say like Rivals, say like Reyes, Everlast, all these other brands, because they are constantly pumping them out. Although I do think some brands that do pump them out quite often still have better quality, but at the end of the day, you can get them a lot easier than these gloves. These are still very well made. But those are the questions I would pose to you. For me, are there negatives to the gloves? Not really. I think it's very well constructed. No laces have frayed. No stitching has frayed. There's no chipping in the leather. It's very easy to maintain. Does everything that a Mexican glove advertise, and also has a bit more of a Western twist to it as far as like what we might be looking for in the United States as far as knuckle padding and all these other things. Like I said, if you have very brittle hands, know what you're buying when it comes to Mexican-made gloves. Odds are, if you were to ask me, should you get things between like Winning or Arrayas, if you say you break your hands every 5 days, definitely don't get Arrayas. This is the first thing I tell you. You should want to get something that's a little bit more padding. I think this glove does a really good job of protecting your knuckles. Your wrist, I think, has very good protective qualities, but still maybe not as good as some of those other gloves out there that have the thick, soft layers of foam compared to this horsehair, latex, all those other things. But I am to understand that the Bayoneta premium layered is more fixated on those qualities of getting the thicker padded knuckles for people that have brittle hands. Although I'm not sure, I'm not ready to buy another 2 pair of gloves by Bayoneta that costs $250 to $300 right now, unfortunately. But that's basically what you got with this glove. I've loved it. So I know what you're thinking. Well, with all those qualities, and things put into check, how would I rate these gloves? Well, personally, for me, as a overall glove for what I know it is and what I love about it, it is by far a 10 out of 10 for me. I think it does a great job as far as being an authentic Mexican-made glove. I like the blend of the horsehair latex foam. Some people may complain that maybe you want more of that horsehair feel, kind of similar to like a Barrack boxing or the new Hit and Move gloves, or maybe even the Salvador gloves, that you can really feel those horsehair padding layers on the inside of. But at the end of the day, I definitely feel that there's horsehair in this glove, and it feels really nice on my hands. They're very comfortable. Again, very easy to clean. They have such a nice feedback. They're great for sparring, bag work. They're durable. I can see these gloves lasting you for a very long time, and they are definitely worth the money as long as you're going to have these. Most Mexican-made gloves that I found have a shelf life, especially if you beat them half to death, of upwards of 5 or 6 years if you just take care of them. High quality gloves tend to do that, and that's basically what I found with these gloves, and everyone else I've talked to about Bayoneta basically says the same thing. They feel very, very durable. That's what I love about these gloves. However, if I were to tell you as a general consumer, I'd probably give them a little bit of a lower rating, like a 6 or 7 out of 10, simply because if you are just someone that goes to the gym and you just want something that can get you through a workout, and you just want to go on Title Boxing and buy something that's cheap and works, go for it. This glove wouldn't be for you. This, for me, is by far more of a professional glove of someone that knows what they're doing. They're a puncher's glove. They're made in Mexico. Most boxers and overall MMA fighters, kickboxers, Thai fighters are going to know exactly what you're going to get depending on where you buy the gloves from. It's kind of like in time when you learn to collect these things. Most gloves are made in Mexico, usually a forward heavy, top-heavy glove that really has a lot of nice punching capability to it, usually has latex horsehair in it, and then you have things like Thai gloves, which are usually a lot more short because the average person in Thailand is not as big as some people here. Usually the hand compartment's going to be a lot smaller, things like that. You should know what you're getting by the point you get to these gloves. They're definitely not for the beginner. They're definitely not for, I'd even say some higher up amateurs might really like this, but at the end of the day, I would say the avid professional would really love this glove, whereas someone that maybe not so experienced and who has brittle hands might not like that, which is why for that crowd, I'd give it like a 6 to 7 out of 10. However, we speak for the general people here. That is, for me, at 10 out of 10. It does everything right for me as far as a Mexican glove should. I do wish that they were a little bit less expensive and I'd get tons of pairs, but I understand that there's production costs, shipping costs, you got to pay the people making them, you got to keep the lights on in the factory that's making them. I understand. They're still not as expensive as some other gloves like Winnings nowadays, going for upwards of $450. Grants that are just impossible to get a hold of unless you know Elvis Grant himself nowadays, that cost $600 plus. I've met someone that had a pair of Grants that cost them over $1,200, which is absolutely insane. DiNardo's out there, and as much as I really want to try them, those gloves go for upwards of $1,100 to $1,200, and that's just a lot of money. Even some flies out there that cost $500 in the genuine leather. So Again, it's not outlandish if you're that high echelon of professionals, but there are some other gloves out there that I would still prefer to use. Like I said, I would put these at like a dead tie with my Salvadors because I think they both are great Mexican-made gloves that do different things. I think this is definitely much more of a firmer glove. It's a little bit more dense than the Salvador, but other than that, it has great punching quality, protects your knuckles well, and it's going to last you a very, very long time because of how high quality these gloves are. Maybe I'll do a Salvador versus Bayoneta glove versus glove video. Who knows? Vote below if you think that's a good idea. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Like I said, I know I'm very long-winded when it comes to these things, but like I tell you all the time, it is a very expensive investment, and at the end of the day, it is your health, safety, and money, and I would not want any of those things messed with, especially my training. I've loved using these gloves. I will continue to use these gloves as part of my rotation once my knee is all healed and I get to come back and get on the mats again, so I'm really excited about these. But at the end of the day, guys, that is my opinion on the Bayoneta PUL-HH training gloves. Again, there are some other models out there, and check out the Boxing Collector if you want to try real, authentic Mexican gear. With that said, everybody, thank you so much for watching this episode. We are at 9.7 thousand subscribers already. That's insane. We're almost in the big 10K, and it's all because of you liking and subscribing to the channel. Make sure you share it with your friends. Make sure you tell them to like and subscribe. Comment below above all. Let me know you want to see review next. I have a lot of things that are in the can ready to go, so we are going to start getting things up and running again. I so appreciate it. I love you all. Thanks for all the support. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.